Hi guys, my name is Ryan Bennett. I'm going to be presenting today for the Huntington County Library on insect collecting and insect keeping. I am a student up at Juniata College, and I have been doing this for multiple years since about kindergarten. So I've grown to be very fond of this hobby, and I think you guys will, after you see some of the things that I present today, will find it just as interesting as I do. So, like I said, I've been doing this for multiple years. I have recently started getting into keeping live animals as opposed to keeping dead specimens, though I do both now. Um, I just think that at least now keeping the live ones is a lot more fun because you actually get to interact with them and have more fun with them than you would with some of my uh, collections. So, the first thing I'm going to show you guys is my female curly hair. This is Fluffy. I've had her since about last April. Like I said, she's a female curly hair tarantula. She is probably, I'd say, like 5 or 6 years old. And she is one of my favorites for my collection because of how nice she is. As you can see, she's just kind of sitting on my hand and not really moving or anything. Some of my other ones are a little more fast and prone to running away than Fluffy here. Um, Normally you'd think that, tarantulas are big things that are only going to bite you. And in this case, Fluffy is more likely to kick hairs at me because tarantulas that live in the US and in South America actually have what are called urticating hairs. You can't see them, but there are hairs on their butts that they can kick off at predators that will make the predators really itchy and kind of keep them from eating the tarantula. Fluffy has kicked hairs at me some, but for the most part, she's really nice. Um, these guys are really low maintenance in terms of pets, which is why you can end up getting a lot of them. I have multiple specimens, as you can probably tell by the shelves, but they're only fed like once a week. You have to water them every so often, but really they act like pet rocks. There's not much that goes into keeping these guys, which makes them a really good pet if you're willing to get into keeping tarantulas. They also have their own unique personalities, so Fluffy here is really sweet and gentle, but some of my other ones, like my Ghost Ornamental, which I might show, is a bit more flighty and really doesn't like people like Fluffy does. Alright, so this next guy might be a little more difficult to see. However, this is another one of my favorites in my collection. This is one of my dead leaf mantises. Now, I don't know if they'll actually show up on the video. However, these guys come from Africa. They, as you can tell, resemble dead leaves, which allows them to blend in with their surroundings and allows them to hunt better, because these guys actually will eat things like flies, butterflies, moths, anything they can pretty much get their hands on. These guys are sort of related to the praying mantises that you see around here, the Chinese mantises, Europeans, narrowings, that sort of thing. However, these guys get a little bit smaller than the Chinese mantises, but they grow really big, what are called hoods. I don't know if you can see it, but behind their heads, there's little crest shield looking things, and those are the hoods. These guys will get a couple inches, and whenever they get big enough, they actually do what are called threat displays. And what they'll do is they'll kind of throw their arms up in the air and flare out their wings and make themselves seem really big and scary, to try and keep things like birds and other animals from eating them. I think these guys are probably some of the most intelligent, some of the smartest things in my collection, just because as you sit and watch them, they will like dance around and try to observe uh, everything around them so that they can figure out like, oh, okay, here's a really high spot. I want to climb up there, or oh, there's a fly down there. Maybe I'm gonna go eat him. I don't know if I can actually get him to do it on camera. There you go. These guys like to jump around. Um, they jump really, really, really fast, but it's fun to watch them do like acrobatics on your fingers. Don't know if I can get them to do it again. Probably not. But yeah, praying mantids are a lot of fun. A little more maintenance than the tarantulas, but they still require like being fed once or twice a week, being watered, um, and then you have to give them a lot of room so that they can actually molt, which is just pretty much they will shed their outer skin, and that allows them to get bigger. And these guys will hang upside down from a branch or from a tree or something and kind of fall backwards out of their old skin in order to molt. So you have to give them a lot of room so that they can actually fall out. So as you can see there. The last live animal I'm going to show here is one of my weirdest in the collection. This is one of my Madagascar hissing cockroaches. These guys come from, like I said, Madagascar. They're some of the larger species of cockroach in the world, and they're used a lot for presentations like this because they're really chill and they're big enough that you can actually see. But one of the most interesting parts about these guys, don't know if I could actually get her to do it, but these guys actually will hiss. There you go. Don't know how much I can get her to do it, but these guys will hiss to try and deter predators, and they do that by pretty much sending air through little holes in their abdomens, and this forcing of air allows them to make noise. Not a lot of animals can do this. One of the more obvious ones that do it like this are things like crickets and grasshoppers that, along with rubbing their body parts together, can make noise by sending air through different parts of their body. So this is one of the females. The males have brighter color and actually have really big horns on the front of their head that are probably used for things like jousting one another and trying to fight for females. But these guys are really nice. They're very easy maintenance. You can feed them just about anything. And they eat pretty much anything. As you can see, this one's one of my older ones. I have a few of them, but these guys are really, really nice. So, last thing I'm going to talk about is my actual collection of dead insects. Like I said, I've been doing this part of the hobby for multiple years, and I've gathered about 14 or so cases of dead insects, along with various different pictures and pieces of jewelry and things that have insects. And I probably have at least one insect from every continent. I'm not sure about Europe, but I could probably find something that came from Europe. Um, so a few of the more interesting ones for my collection are probably some of the butterflies that I've gotten over the years. Whenever I started collecting, I was very interested in butterflies and moths, especially during elementary school when my first grade teacher actually uh, raised monarchs. We ended up letting them loose in the classroom, and we got to let them go in the spring whenever they finally hatched, and that kind of reinforced my interest in insects. So, um, these are probably some of the most impressive ones that I've caught. These are blue morphos. They come from South America, and they're known as some of the most beautiful butterflies in the entire world just because of their blue color and the fact that they show up as they kind of shine in the light. So whenever you look at them under certain lights, they'll change color. So maybe at one point the top one will look purple under a certain light. Under a different light, it'll look maybe metallic blue. Maybe under a different light, it'll look like a teal color. Um, and these guys are some of the larger ones. They're definitely larger, like bird wings, that are some of the largest butterflies in the world. But these ones are definitely up there. These are probably my favorites just because ever since I started collecting, I had wanted to get some of these guys, and I'm now up to, there's two in this frame, but I think I have a third one that I still have to deal with that I just got recently. But these guys, since they come from South America, and I haven't actually been to South America, you have to do certain things with them to soften up their bodies because they come back really, really hard. In order to soften them, you have to use different chemicals to try and soften up their bodies so that you can display them like how I did there. And how I've done with all of my other ones is just kind of spreading the wings open so that you can see all of the different parts of the body, which is how normal entomologists do it, so that whenever they go to ID the specimen, they can see, okay, this is the pattern on this wing, this is the pattern on this wing, this is how a certain part of their body looks. And so they can have a better chance of IDing it as opposed to if they were kind of folded up like you would find them on, say, a flower or something. Some of the other ones I've collected that were really interesting are things like this. This is a rhinoceros beetle that comes from, I think, Africa. I have labels on it, but I can't be bothered to look. But these guys are actually really difficult to pin. This guy took a lot of effort to try and get, as you can see, there's a little pin going through the actual beetle with the labels on the bottom, and these guys are like sticking a pin through plastic. They're extremely tough, which is how nature made them to be, so that they could survive animals and that sort of thing. And they've just got a really, really tough exoskeleton. So I have guys like this. I have longhorn beetles, which have really, really long antennas. I have scarab beetles, which were actually used in Egypt as things like jewelry. But some of the bigger ones, like this guy, are some of the most impressive just because of the giant horns and how terrifying it would be if someone came up to you and just showed you this monster sitting on their hand. And that's part of the reason that I like doing this, is because to someone normally, these would be really creepy. To me, it's interesting to see how they've developed over time and how interesting they look now, because they look like something you could only dream of. Same thing with some of my walking sticks. I have a jungle nymph, which is a type of walking stick that gets to be about this big and is covered in thorns and spines that it uses to hide in things like rose bushes. Now, these guys live in Indonesia and Malaysia and that sort of thing, but they hide in really brambly plants, and they'll mimic the plants so that predators can't find them. And if they do, they can, say, flick their legs, and the spines will catch on to the predators, and the predators will get scared and leave. And it's just amazing to see all of the different creations that nature has brought up, and see how different they are and how unique they are. So I've done many different ways of doing this. I've gotten specimens online, such as the blue morphos and the rhinoceros beetle. I've caught some from around here. So, for example, this guy, which is a bit smaller than the rhinoceros beetle. This is a eastern Hercules beetle. Again, you can see the really cool horns on them. These guys you can find around Huntington County. You can find them in Pennsylvania. But you can use, or you can find them outside. You can use blacklight traps, which pretty much take a screen with a special type of light, and it attracts things like moths, praying mantises, beetles, and you can use that to go collect insects, which is actually really fun if you get to try it. I would recommend anyone watching this try it at some point, because it's a lot of fun, especially seeing some of the like Luna moths and Cecrophias and Polyphemus flying around. It's really, really cool. But you can just go outside and catch them. I've done multiple trips out to the woods behind my house to hunt for bugs, and I've come home with tiger beetles and different really shiny things. I don't know if I actually have a tiger beetle in here. Either way. But just going outside, not obviously during this quarantine and everything, unless you have access to the woods without, going through people and that sort of thing. But if you get the chance to go out and hunt for bugs, I would definitely recommend it. And if you guys have any questions about like any of my animals, any of the collections that I have, I don't know how this video is actually going to be set up. You should be able to either tag me in some sort of a question, or if this is a YouTube video, comment, and I should be able to answer any of your questions about anything that I have here. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to present in the future, especially when we can get out into groups again, and maybe do a presentation like this in person, and I can actually show you guys things like Fluffy or some of my scorpions that I didn't actually get to show, or just kind of show you guys what I get to work with every day. And I hope you guys gain some interest in collecting insects yourselves, and just go outside and see what you can find.